Call me selfish, but the first team that we want to talk about, we want to spend some time this week during our shooting before the end of the preseason. We're going to talk about probably the 8 to 9, 10, somewhere in there teams that we talked about on our show back in May. The teams that we thought personally were going to go deep in the playoffs, or even possibly we'll do a Super Bowl prediction if you're lucky in this next day or two of shooting. But these are the teams that we think are really poised to do very well this season, and the reasons why. We're going to update the San Francisco 49ers again. And something that I did, Mickey, and you helped me with, is we identified between the two of us how many significant players, for whatever reason, we thought were on each team. If you're keeping track, we're going to start with the San Francisco 49ers. I have 20 significant players on the 49ers. Nnamdi Asomugha is traded from the Philadelphia Eagles. Now he's with the 49ers, and just the other day, in mandatory training camp, right before it ended, I saw something scroll on the screen that said, "We're not, the verdict is still open." The defensive coordinator for the Eagles said, "You know what? It's the verdict's still open on him." He wasn't saying like you see usually in training camp. You either see nothing said about you as a player, or you see he's looking good. He's looking like he's going to be great. He's in shape. He came back in shape. He's playing good. He's making plays and all this stuff. They said Asomugha, they don't know.
But you meant the defensive coordinator for the Niners, right?
Oh, what am I saying? Yeah.
He was traded from the Eagles to the 49ers.
I stand corrected. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't care about him anymore. They traded him. I'm talking about the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Anquan Boldin, I don't know if we need to say much about him. Look at the production that he had. His team won the NFL when he was with the Ravens. The 49ers have him. The 49ers have him. And it's lucky because, another name I want to mention, Mickey, do you realize that Michael Crabtree got hurt a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, geez.
Star receiver for the 49ers, and they're saying he could be out for the entire season. So
that's where Bolden.
Does that affect the 49ers?
That's where Bolden's going to really come in handy. He'll definitely have a starting spot in case there was any doubt about that. And he may even be the #1 receiver.
I think they're still going to be okay because, fortunately, their depth chart on receivers is still really good because, yes, with them getting Anquan Boldin, which was a great trade, I'm sure the guy's up in age, and I believe he's over 30. He is definitely over 30 years old, but here's the thing. A couple other players I want to mention. Chris Culliver, their cornerback. Vernon Davis has been a good tight end for a long time. Glenn Dorsey started with the Kansas City Chiefs. They paid a lot of money for him, and he is now with the 49ers. He still plays defensive tackle. They still have him as a defensive end player sometimes. Frank Gore's your running back. You got Michael James, and you have another kid last year that we got to see a little bit of. Looking for him right now. LaMichael James, who looks like a really good running back. I was talking about him in the last show because they put these two young running backs, rookies, first year, second year players, in at the end of some of the games for the 49ers last year, and that's great because it looks like they not only produce, but it's totally cyclical because if anything happens to Frank Gore, or more likely in a couple of years as he slows down, well, these guys are going to take his place. 49ers are loaded for bear, so to speak. Mario Manningham didn't have much of a year last year. Had him in my fantasy football. He's still on the team. He's a wide receiver. Will he step up? He was with the New York Giants. You're so big on the Giants. So if a player's even associated with the Giants, they're good, right?
Well, Manningham was excellent. He wasn't the star receiver over there. They had Victor Cruz and, a couple other guys.
Hakeem Nicks or Hicks?
Nick.
Is he a Hick or a Nick? Or I don't know what.
Hicks, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Anyhow, but Manningham's got skills, and the Niners are going to be glad to have him. Very glad to have him.
I agree too. I mean, actually, I don't know. Mario definitely, his number slumped for receptions and for touchdowns. And he clearly didn't produce the way the 49ers had hoped he did because they just picked him up not too long ago, a couple of years ago. But he's still on the team, which tells me that one of two things. Either they're expecting more out of him, like Mickey said, and he is going to do what he did in yesteryear and produce for them like he did for the Giants, or, unfortunately, it might be the other way, where we're keeping him on the depth chart because if anybody gets hurt, like, oh my God, Michael Crabtree got hurt, that's a crab. That's not a good thing. Then we've got him. Aldon Smith, Justin Smith, linebacker, defensive tackle. Joe Staley at offensive tackle. These guys have been with him for a couple of years now. That's why they did so good last year. That defense, I love it. I love it. They were rated in Pro Football Weekly B plus, I believe, and the linebackers got an A grade, right?
Something like that.
Why they got an A grade? Let me throw these names out at you, just so you know. And these players have been here. They were there last year. But when you've got Navarro Bowman as a linebacker, you've got Patrick Willis, who recently got hurt, but they said that he'll be back for the start of the season. Did you know that?
No.
What you talking about, Willis?
They need him. Leader of the defense. 2 years ago,
Yes.
the Niners
Yes,
defense
he is.
was just absolutely fabulous. And I remember they shut people down every week, especially at home. And they had a lot of fun doing it. And that was the reason the Niners went to the NFC Championship game, where unfortunately they lost to the Giants because of special teams. But anyhow, and I remember hearing an interview with one of their players after the season, and the interviewer asked him, "Well, tell us something about what was it like to be on that defense?" And he said it just felt great to be able to go out there and week after week and just shut people down. Now last year,
Well, can you imagine?
Hmm?
Well, I mean, yeah. Can you imagine? Go ahead, though.
I know
Yeah.
they were just, it was a shutdown defense. Last year the defense was not quite as strong. The offense though was very good and got better with Colin Kaepernick. What can I say? Their defense is gonna have to excel for the Niners to really go deep in the playoffs.
One other mention that I
And
wanted
Willis
to.
is gonna be a big part of that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. It's not on here yet. So, but Eric Wright. Eric Wright was a cornerback with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who got in some trouble, and I believe it had to do with some DUI trouble or performance-enhancing drugs. How often do we see that? 49ers picked him up, and they did what they did with him, what they did with Asamoah and a couple other players. They signed him to a one-year contract, and they basically said, you're going to have to prove yourself. And the verdict's out on him, too. So, and I saw, with the coaches on the 49ers, they're picking up some players that were starting players on other teams like Asamoah, Eric Wright, and some other guys I can mention, Anquan Bolden even, and they're saying, you got to prove yourselves to us. And nobody on that team, coaches, is coming out and saying, oh yeah, these guys are going to be great, we're fine, we're this, we're that. What does that tell me? What does that tell you? Coach Harbaugh, mad at everybody sometimes. He's keeping it under covers, wouldn't you say, Mickey? He's got his coaching staff so poised that this is our year that he's controlling, making sure that they don't make those kind of verbal mistakes, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. Well, at least half of competitive sports is mental, and that we know this for a lot of reasons. But every week we see a team that's better on paper losing to a team that's far worse on paper, and what's going on there? It's the mental edge, it's preparation, and there's no replacement for it. There's no substitute. I mean, when a team is they've really got their minds in a game and they're really determined to beat the opponent that they're playing this week, that's when you get the best effort out of the team. So that's what Harbaugh wants. That's what every coach wants.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what we've seen time and time again. So it's actually a recipe. It's obviously a recipe that's necessary. Not to say that they're not having fun at certain moments, but as far as the lack or complete annihilation of his players making any comments about what happened in mandatory training camp or what's been happening in preseason, it's not happening. So that tells me that he's poised his players, and he made it clear to them when they came into training camp, look guys, this is absolutely our year. This is the year we have built up to as an organization, and I don't want any funny business at all. And nobody needs to know about what we're doing because we know who we are and we know that we're ready to do it and this is our year, and we brought in some players that are going to give you guys the cutting edge to win, and there's no reason why we don't win the Super Bowl this year rather than just be a visitor or rather than just be somebody that was invited. And so seriously, everything or the lack thereof that I've seen so far from the 49ers and Jim Harbaugh, have we seen him in the spotlight? No, we haven't. I mean, I pay attention. And I don't see him hardly ever making any comments. And so that tells me they're keeping it hush-hush, and he couldn't be more serious. And the 49ers, you deserve a little bit more time, in my opinion, for us to spend on you once again when we're doing this update on your team roster, because you are the team to be beat. And you have put as they say in France, the creme de la creme. You have the cream on the top. You've done what you needed to do with the players that you picked up. And I still predict you, even with Michael Crabtree probably being out for the season, that's the prediction, even with Patrick Willis which I agree is the leader. That's important, not just a player that's making enough tackles, but the leader of the linebacker core and the impact that he has on that defense. And Mike Singletary, the tutelage and the mentorship as a player and as a mental edge that you instilled in Patrick Willis, it will be the difference this year, folks. You heard it here right now. That's why they will win the Super Bowl, because it's those things that they did that I just mentioned and the people that affected them that will come in handy when they're in the final moments and they're trying to win a championship.
We can't finish the subject of the San Francisco 49ers without talking about their quarterback, Colin Kaepernick,
Oh,
who,
you're
as we
right.
all know,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
came in
yeah.
and took over the starting quarterback job last year after an injury and concussion to the starter Alex Smith, and he was fabulous down the stretch. He had a couple rough games early on, but what he added was a running dimension to the quarterback position that
That was a big
was
deal.
lacking under Alex Smith. He can throw the ball too, you know, and I think this is what Niners fans all over the country just loved about the second half of last season. You know, the Niners are a force. They've got a huge offensive line. They know what they're doing. Gore has already been a proven running back for years. They, you know, with the wide receivers, Crabtree and the others, even if they don't have Crabtree, I hope he gets back this year. But the quarterback, of course, it's the most important position. And so what I'm really looking forward to this season is seeing how Kaepernick matures and progresses as a player, working within the same offense.
too.
Most of the same players, receivers, and everything. He's going to light the NFL up. Expectations are very high for the Niners this year, as they should be. And a key part of the Niners season is going to be Colin Kaepernick's performance at quarterback.
Ditto on everything he said.
We shall see what they do. All right, Joey.
Ta-da!